Hi, this is Dr. Mike Yuan. One of the biggest discussions in the Yang Tai Chi Chuan field is the reason for the differences in the various solo form styles. I'd like to address that as a teaching approach. It was my great fortune in my 20s and 30s to have come across not only one, two, but three authentic versions of the Yang form. The first was with Jin Sun Chu, second disciple of Yang Sau Chung. The second was the advanced Yang Tai Chi corrections that I received from Yang Sau Chung himself. And then the third was in 1988 in a trip to Chengdu, Sichuan, where I was introduced to Chen Longxiang, Ya Xuan's top disciple and son-in-law. Chen Longxiang was kind enough to give me a full round of corrections of Ya Xuan's Tai Chi form. I've been sitting with this last experience for decades, pondering why I happen to have karma with the last iteration of Yang Chengfu's form. We know that Yang Sau Chung was the cloak and bowl descendant, which is after receiving the complete system and methodology of the solo form, which consisted of many layers and styles within it, that Yang Chengfu went on to teach his solo form in various iterations until his passing in his early 50s. So Ya Xuan was his last disciple and a serious proponent on the mainland. And as Chen Longxiang shared with me, just as he did with Ya Xuan copied Yang Chengfu's form to the T with utmost intention of emulating the outer form and Feng flavor style. Chen Longxiang went to great length to even point out differences in the form that Ya Xuan had incorporated. For example, at the beginning of the long form kicking sequence, you have step forward and punch downward. Well, we know that Yang Chengfu's and Yang Sau Chung's way of doing it was with a vertical fist. Well, Ya Xuan thought in terms of practical application that it might be best to make it into a fist like this, where you can hit with the back of the wrist and not just with the face of the fist. This just to illustrate the rigor of emulating Yang Chengfu's latter-day style. There are some profoundly outstanding differences, and I must say differences that appear to have been systematic in terms of Trenli, in terms of the principle of the fist. I feel, given the knowledge I've acquired, that it could really add to the advanced Yang Tai Chi corrections to do a comparison between Yang Sau Chung's solo form and that taught by Ya Xuan, which represents Yang Chengfu's latter years form. So basically, you'll get a direct experience in terms of comparing and contrasting the methodologies. I'd highly advise that in this type of inquiry that you first take it in on a listening level and match it with your own experience, and then commit it to practice, because there's so much really interesting stuff you would hear about that would stimulate thought, why he made the changes and so forth. My conclusion is it wasn't just because he was getting older. I used to think this way until I went deeper into analysis of it this last year. Comparison of the two forms will be touched upon in the 4-day, 10-hour intensive under the motif of footwork before handwork. That's another one of the not doings of the 8 that you'll be getting. But in order to really treat it deeply, enroll in the 1-year training, which basically takes the 8 agreements and the G power pushing and the short power pushing hands methodology and customizes it to your person. It'll take that long to customize, which means it'll really become yours and you'll know it inside out. But my purpose of this video is just to alert you to this information that I have that goes over the differences in the Yang Sau Chung versus the latter year Yang Chengfu form. And I think you'll be amazed at what you find. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Leave a comment below telling me of your interests. Join the free private Facebook group and take part in that discussion. And I'd be very happy to share what I consider to be an extraordinary inquiry coming from the authentic Yang family line. And on top of that, I believe you're going to make sense of the solo forms of the Fu Zhongwens, Dong Yingjie's, the other top disciples of Yang Chengfu. It'll all make sense to you once you receive the two bookends. Okay, this is Dr. Mike Yuan. Once again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.